This episode is brought to you by Facebook. So you were scrolling on Marketplace, and there it was, the bike you'd been searching for. You sent a message, and it turned out the seller was super chatty, kind of funny, and an avid cyclist. The next thing you know, you're in a cycling crew. Well, a community cycling group. The thing about Facebook, you might find more than what you're looking for. From a browse to a bike ride, this summer find more on Facebook.
Good morning, it's Tuesday, August 25, and this is the Brussels Playbook podcast. The vibe in Brussels today is calculating as European Council President António Costa hits the road to find out what EU leaders want from the next 7-year EU budget. Also on the pod, Europe's socialists are divided over Mette Frederiksen, but don't expect a civil war in the European Parliament. And Greece is trying to turn Christopher Nolan's Odyssey into a new tourism boom. I'm Zoya Sheftalovich, and with me today is our senior EU politics editor, Ian Wishart. Hey, Ian.
Hello, Zoya. It's good to be back, isn't it?
It is lovely to be back. What did you get up to the holidays?
I've been working.
Oh, that's a bit sad. I went and stayed in a hotel that's in a train station in the Pyrenees Mountains.
Lovely. Oh, I've heard about this.
It used to be the second largest train station in Europe. It was phenomenal.
I read about that.
And I did watch a movie while I was in the train hotel that was set on a train. So it was pretty good.
What was it, like Murder on the Orient Express or something?
No, it was Night Train to Munich. It's a kind of a comedy.
I don't care, actually, Zoya. I'm not interested in films. So should we get on with the podcast?
Let's get on with the goddamn podcast. First story of the day, Ian. António Costa is heading for a tour of capitals. He does this every year.
European Council President, we should let people know.
I guess just in case. I just thought he was like Madonna. You don't even need to tell people who he is. So, António Costa, European Council President, he is heading on a tour of EU capitals. It begins today. He does this every year, but this year in particular, it's super important because we are entering the crunch phase of EU budget negotiations.
This big budget is going to absolutely dominate the agenda basically from now until the end of it, well, probably beyond, but definitely from now until the end of the year, isn't it? Huge gulf still between the different member states. And
there is.
I suppose this is the whole point of this tour, going to every capital more or less to try to bring them closer together before the first summit.
He's trying to figure out where everyone's red lines are. And, you know, he's going to be helped in that because Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor, he's hosting his own little summit this week on Thursday. He's gathering the frugal countries. These are the guys who want to cut EU funding.
As the EU has developed and as new jobs have been added to the EU setup, and the European Council President is a relatively new one, they've had to kind of design these jobs themselves. And it's very interesting to see the way that Costa is doing it. And you can see that he sees very much of his role of staying in the shadows, but being the deal maker, basically, and trying to get everybody together inch by inch, just nudging them a bit closer together. Donald Tusk did that in a similar way. You can see how that this job is kind of evolving, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And so with Costa, what he's trying to do is basically he's trying to bridge that divide. As you said, it is quite a significant one between the countries that want more spending and want traditional spending on agriculture, on cohesion, that's the roads and the bridges and the hospitals and so forth. Then you've got a set of other countries on the other side. These are the guys who want to...
Stingy ones.
Yeah, stingy, the frugals, or the friends of competitiveness is what they call themselves.
Friends of stinginess.
Indeed. And they want to cut spending. They say 2 trillion is just way too much. That's the budget proposal that the Commission initially came up with, almost 2 trillion. They say that's way too much money. And also, we're spending it on the wrong stuff.
And Germany has really been leading this, hasn't it? This move to not spend as much money.
That's right. They've said that they want to cut spending. Merz said by hundreds of billions of euros. At the same time, as I said to you, yesterday I had a briefing with a few other reporters to sort of say, well, the positions are getting closer and there is kind of a sense...
Oh, right. So there's some optimism, is there?
There was optimism that there is a sense that people are moving closer together. And one of the things they're moving closer together on, apparently, is this question of, I'm going to use this phrase, own resources, which means just EU taxes. And they say that there is some movement on that and there is a realization.
It's going to go down very well with the voters, though, is it? Are they not worried about that? They must be worried, in if not in Brussels, then in the individual capitals.
Well, I think that's precisely where the pushback comes from, that these various capitals, a lot of them are going to see elections in 2027.
Yeah.
And if they reach a budget deal, which includes a bunch of new taxes, that's going to be a hard sell to their electorates. But nonetheless, what the council is saying, what the EU is saying is, look, if you have all of these priorities and you want us to spend lots of money on things like defense, on competitiveness, on supporting and funding Ukraine, then you're going to have to open the wallets a bit.
And the reason I mentioned Germany and Chancellor Merz is he's kind of having his rival meeting, isn't he?
That's right. That's
on Thursday, isn't it?
On Thursday. He's invited a bunch of countries, so it's the Netherlands, Austria, the kind of usual suspects.
The ones who think the same, basically.
Exactly. Yep.
So are they kind of trying to get their ducks in order, I suppose, for the battle to come, sort of to agree a united front on how they're going to push this argument?
Yeah, that's right. And Costa is heading, so today is his first day of this tour of the capitals that he's doing. He's going to Bratislava to meet with Robert Fico, and that's an interesting first stop as well.
Following in the footsteps of our own colleague Max, who did Playbook from there last week.
Indeed. I don't know who got the idea first.
Well, who knows?
I should say, by the way, I mentioned Ukraine just earlier because this is a big priority as well. We've seen a few reports coming out lately that Ukraine needs more money to fight the war, to continue fighting the war. It needs money for interceptors, which are expensive. It needs money for defense.
So, sorry, before you go, so are some countries saying that the budget could be higher because you need to pay for Ukraine, because the EU needs to contribute to some of the coffers?
They're not talking about the wider pot being higher, but they're talking about within that EU budget where the spending goes, that Ukraine needs to be potentially one of the considerations. And I should say, yesterday on the podcast, we said that Andy Burnham wasn't coming
The British Prime Minister.
The British Prime Minister wasn't going to come in person to this meeting of the Coalition of the Willing. It took place yesterday. We misspoke. Andy Burnham was there in person.
When you say we misspoke...
Nick misspoke. I don't know what to say. I didn't.
Oh, throw a colleague under the bus. Unbelievable.
Why are we asking? It wasn't Nick's fault anyway. It was my fault. I gave him incorrect information. But nonetheless, we misspoke.
Back to we again.
Indeed, Andy Burnham was on the ground. It was his first big trip as the new Prime Minister, so it's actually...
And António Costa was there as well, wasn't he?
He was. António Costa was there in a big show of support as well.
Zoya, should we talk about more sort of Brussels-centric politics and about the socialists, particularly the ones in the European Parliament, and what's happening there? Because it's quite an interesting tale we're reporting in Playbook this morning.
Absolutely. And I do encourage everyone to go and read the Playbook. Basically, this all started during the Ceuta migration crisis, when there was this influx of migrants from Morocco into Ceuta. This was just before the summer break, before we went on holidays.
And this is the Spanish exclave at the top of Africa.
Exactly. And in response to that, there was a flurry of concern from other EU countries, particularly those that are hardline on migration, like Denmark, where the Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen kind of coordinated with Giorgia Meloni, the Italian Prime Minister.
Despite Frederiksen being a socialist. And
Indeed.
This is the kind of the anomaly here.
A fellow socialist, because Pedro Sanchez, the Spanish Prime Minister, is also a socialist.
Yeah. This is where it gets really fascinating.
Indeed. So Frederiksen worked with Giorgia Meloni on this letter.
Very much not a socialist.
Very much a far-right leader, to send this letter basically saying, it was co-signed by 20 other countries, I believe, to say basically that the migration situation is at a crisis, calling for this emergency video conference summit of interior ministers and kind of criticizing quite strongly the Spanish position on migration, because you'll remember that Pedro Sanchez, earlier this year, his government regularized, which means basically gave documents to a large number of migrants in Spain. And there was this criticism by Meloni and Frederiksen saying, look, this was a pull factor. This kind of caused or may have been behind some of the reasons why the migrants came.
So I think what's interesting in what Gerardo is reporting this morning is that while obviously things are not harmonious between the socialists at leader level, at intergovernmental level, that's not quite filtering down into the Socialists and Democrats, their party in the centre-left party in the European Parliament, is it?
It's not. And it's because even if they wanted to have a big old spat and kind of expel Frederiksen's party, the Social Democrats, from the Socialists over this, I think it would be a pretty big own goal, because they are a small shrinking force on the EU scale in the parliament and also in the European Council. There are fewer and fewer socialist leaders. So I think there is this sense of like, okay, we've got to keep this show on the road. We've got to keep the team together, because if we start having these internal battles, we might lose power in the parliament as well, because if there are fewer members, then they get less speaking time and all sorts of other consequences.
And for you listening at home who might not follow the minutiae of Brussels EU politics the way that some of us do, this is important because the socialists prop up President von der Leyen's European Commission, basically, this centrist coalition of the centre-right, centre-left and the liberals. So any sign that the socialists are being destabilised could then have a knock-on effect to the von der Leyen Commission and how she's able to get laws passed through Parliament.
Absolutely. And regular listeners will know that Ursula von der Leyen has faced several votes of no confidence in the European Parliament over the past couple of years, and they've had diminishing support in the Parliament. There is a pretty high threshold you need to reach in order to depose her. But there are whispers that I have picked up over the past 12 months with people saying that the socialists are actually kind of waiting potentially for an opportunity because they're currently keeping her propped up with the Liberals and with the EPP, which is von der Leyen's European People's Party. But if they pull the plug and decide to join en masse with some of the far right, for instance, that wants von der Leyen gone, or the far left that wants von der Leyen gone, that might be really problematic for her, because then those numbers might swell.
Fascinating. And obviously that becomes more difficult, though, if they are not united themselves. So that takes us back right to the beginning.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Ian, have you watched The Odyssey yet?
You've asked me that before.
Well, it's been several weeks.
No.
Of course not. Well, anyway, the reason we're talking about it again is basically because our producer Dionys is obsessed. Our colleague Nectarius Stamuli has written a story about how Athens is trying to get onto the Odyssey bandwagon and get its tourism industry back up and running.
I mean, quite a lot of people go on holiday to Greece anyway. Do they need this boost?
I guess.
Whenever I go, it's absolutely packed.
Well, where are you going? Are you going to the Peloponnese?
I have been to the Peloponnese, very nice. It's not so packed. Where I go is actually quite peaceful, and I don't want anybody to go to the Peloponnese. Are people so stupid they have to watch a film to know where to go on holiday?
Well, that is seemingly what happens when you're on holiday.
Stupid.
I don't want to shit on people who like to watch. No. You know, it wouldn't be the first time if people do come rushing in because Mamma Mia drove a huge number of tourists to various Greek islands.
Ian, you haven't seen Mamma Mia?
I haven't seen Mamma Mia either, no. This is the ABBA one, is it? What's that got to do with Greece?
It was set on the Greek islands.
All right.
Yeah. It was the music of ABBA, but I hated that movie so much. Dionys, do you love Mamma Mia?
I really liked The Odyssey.
But not Mamma Mia, I note. Dionys, you've been on holiday in Greece. What's the situation? Are the Peloponnese flooded with Odyssey-loving Nolan heads?
I happened to go to Pylos and to Voidokilia Beach, where the movie was set, some of it, even though I booked that trip before I knew the movie was being made. And to my surprise, it wasn't very crowded.
Okay, so why are we talking about this then?
We're talking about this because the Greek National Tourism Organization
want this to be a boost.
Yes, they do. They've organized a press trip to Ithaca, which is where Odysseus is from. And the Peloponnese regional authorities are creating this Odyssey route that you can go on to check out where the story took place. And there's lots of signs and websites being prepared. They're hoping that things will be up and running in November. I feel like they could have seen this one coming.
I mean, Odyssey has been in the works for quite a few millennia.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, it is showing that it's having some effect because tour operators are seeing more bookings. So good luck to the Greeks.
It kind of persuades me to go somewhere else.
Same.
Anything else you want to talk about, Zoya? Any other corrections? Anybody else? Any other colleagues you want to throw under a bus?
No, I'm going to throw myself under a bus again. Yeah, there is another correction, Ian, unfortunately. Look, first day back jitters. It was a rough and shaky start, is all I'm going to say. I got something wrong yesterday. Yeah. So there is not going to be a new tender for e-scooters in Brussels in May 2028. I got my wires crossed. It's e-bikes that are being tendered in May 2028.
So scooters are out, but it looks like bikes might continue.
Bikes are okay. Scooters are out. All right, well, that's about it from us today. We did get some really lovely messages from our listeners, actually, telling us what they got up to on their holidays and telling us they missed us, which was nice. David, he was on holiday in Greece, incidentally, and he said he loves listening every morning. I don't know what to say about that.
He says he's from Australia, via the UK, has Irish roots and is married to a Greek. Sounds like the absolutely classic Politico devotee.
Indeed, he does.
Well, as much as I don't like going to the cinema, Zoya, perhaps we could ask our listeners to WhatsApp us if they have been inspired to go somewhere because they've seen it in a film.
Ooh, that's a great one. Yeah, let's do that.
Have you seen Lost in Translation and want to go to Tokyo? Have you seen Star Wars and want to go to Mars? Did they go to Mars in Star Wars?
I don't think so.
Okay.
All right, well, that's about it from us today, folks. Like us, subscribe, give us a good rating or a terrible one after this episode.
Yeah, things will get a bit slicker the more we get back into the post-summer groove.
Yeah,
won't they?
I think everyone is still recovering, us included.
Yeah.
We'll be better tomorrow, we swear.